The final race on the Future Stars Friday card for the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar is the Juvenile Turf. It's a grade one run at a mile for the 2-year-olds. And obviously, this field is dominated, as it usually is, by Euro shippers, most notably Qudra and New Century, who just recently battled it out up at Woodbine and have faced each other, I think, 3 times. And Qudra, I believe, has won 2 of them. But you've also got a couple intriguing ones like the Waco Kid. For those of us who love Blazing Saddles, that's kind of a neat name. And you've got Zulu Kingdom for Chad Brown, Noble Confessor for Todd Pletcher to represent the Americans. Excuse me. And Centeno Carnival coming in from Japan, and Dream On for Mark Cassie from Canada. So it's an international field. And we'll take a look at them one at a time. We'll start with Centeno Carnival on the rail. I did get to look at the knee-size stakes and most recent start, and I don't know how it was sort of, as it is with the Japanese, kind of hard to tell. It was a 6-furlong race, a 1 turn, and looked like he had a pretty good turn of foot. And won. I just don't know the class level, and I'm sort of taking the stand that the Euros are probably better than this one is at this stage of the game. And so rather than, maybe you can put him underneath if you get a good enough price, that would be the extent of it. But I don't think he's going to beat any of the prominent Euro contenders in here. Dream On from Canada. This is one who likes to be up near the lead and will probably be the pace in the race. I thought he kept on pretty well in the summer stakes last time before being overtaken by New Century and Qudra. And, by Not This Time and Really Nice Sire, I think this is a race that he could stick around for a little bit, but I think he's probably going to be overhauled by the Euros late. So I'm going to let Dream On go. I think Wiring would be a really tall order for this field. Noble Confessor is still a maiden for Todd Pletcher, and his first entree onto turf was in the Pilgrim Stakes, where he lost to Zulu Kingdom. But I'll tell you, I thought he ran pretty damn well for his first start on turf. And he was getting to Zulu Kingdom in the stretch. And so I think maybe this one's got a little bit more upside. And for the Americans, I kind of like him a little better than Zulu Kingdom because he has the potential to take another step forward. Where looking at Zulu Kingdom, he may be leveling off a little bit. So for the price at 15-1 will be much better than you'll get for Zulu Kingdom. I'm going to throw Noble Confessor in the mix, but more for underneath than anything else. Now we come to one of the more prominent Euros, Qudra. This one is by Charlie Appleby, William Buick in the irons, although James Doyle is noted on the program, and so that's Amori City has William Buick. So we'll just have to see. I guess James Doyle's probably going to get them out. There's not much of a drop-off there. James Doyle's a nice jockey. And he's been, I believe he's been on him enough times, and Buick's been on Amori City, so I guess that's that. I wouldn't read too terribly much into that. I'm sorry for the typo. Qudra last time finished second to New Century in the summer stakes, and they basically were battling 1-2. Dream On was drifting out, and it may have compromised Qudra to a degree. One of the things I've noticed in watching the two of them, New Century and Qudra is usually a little more forwardly placed, and New Century, it seems it takes him a little while to get going. So from a tactical perspective, with a short stretch at Del Mar, I'd have to favor Qudra between the two of them. And they're certainly both going to be in the mix, and we have to use Qudra, but that's something to keep in mind when you're factoring those things in. Now we come to Zulu Kingdom for Chad Brown. And, he hasn't done anything wrong. He's undefeated, 3 for 3, won the Pilgrim, won the With Anticipation. I thought he ran a solid race. He always seems to. But again, Noble Confessor was getting to him. And I don't see the real monster turn of foot here to tell me that this is a real turf monster for Chad Brown. I think he could probably get into the money, but I think his price will probably be a little shorter than 8 to 1, and for that reason, I kind of like Noble Confessor a little better. And so, if you want to put him underneath in your exotics at Zulu Kingdom, I could certainly see it. But I'm just going to go for value when it comes to the Americans. Iron Man Cow is a California horse for Phil D'Amato and Little Red Feather Racing, very prominent group out in California. Um, that last race, the Zuma Beach, he got first by disqualification, but I really didn't like it at all. He had every chance to win that race and just couldn't get by Artislas. And he also had Sabretooth running up his rear late. And he just seemed to really flatten out. And just, again, you just don't like to see a horse going up in class into the Breeders' Cup off of that effort where the field probably wasn't that good to begin with. And he just couldn't get over the top. So I'm going to let Iron Man Cal go. Seagulls 11 is one of the Euro imports for Hugo Palmer. And watching this one, he was he seems to be, as the class of his races is getting higher, he seems to be dropping off, and that to me is a little bit of an alarm. He did, he got third in the national stakes. He got behind Qudra and New Century, and he did get fourth in the Dewhurst behind Shadow of Light. But it was just the way he was going. It didn't seem like in that race that he had really much more to offer, and that to me makes him a little prohibitive here. He certainly could get in the money. All the Euros have that ability to in this field, without a doubt. But I just kind of liked others a little better. And if you have to choose between Noble Confessor at 15 to 1 and Seagulls 11, I saw more upside with Noble Confessor, and that's why I chose him as opposed to Seagulls 11. The Waco Kid, again, the great name, Gene Wilder's character in Blazing Saddles. Nobody has made mention of that. I must be old because the newer generation doesn't seem to recall the reference. But anyway, what I like about the Waco Kid is that he shows progression. He's getting better with every start. And the last one, he took a field wire to wire. And I think that was sort of an instruction of this is the best horse in the field. Do what a good horse is supposed to do and take him all the way. And he did. I think this one has to step up class-wise, but he is getting better with every start. And that's what I always love to see with 2-year-olds. And at 20 to 1, you're getting some really nice value. So we're going to throw Waco Kid in the mix. And he's a sleeper. If things break right, then he could very well take this one down. It'd be a tall order, but he's an interesting prospect from that perspective when you consider that he's improving steadily with every start. Mentee, I'm really surprised he's not in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. And this seems to me kind of like a Mike Rapoli decision. The Belmont Futurity, in retrospect, you go back and look at that race, it was pretty soft fractions on the front end. And Mentee did display an ability to rate and drew off from that field, but I questioned the quality of it. And, when they put him in the hopeful, he really wasn't able to hang around very much. And granted, yes, that was on dirt, but really the point of the matter is that class-wise, I questioned this one, particularly going against these prominent Euros. He is the full brother to Fierceness. And I don't know, it just seems like Mike Rapoli's thinking, well, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year, Fierceness wasn't expected to do much. We put him in that and look what happened. Maybe we can do it again on turf with Mentee as his preferred surface. I don't know. I'm just really against this horse. I just don't think he hasn't demonstrated enough to me to get really excited about him, and I'd much rather see him around 1 turn than 2 at this point from what I've seen. New Century is the favorite in this race following his victory in the Summer Stakes. And again, he's faced Al Qudra three times, and he's won one. Al Qudra has two of them. And as I mentioned, the thing I've noticed about New Century is it does take him a little while to get going, perhaps a little more than Al Qudra or some of the others. And granted, with more ground, that's not going to hurt him as much. But when you consider the evenly matched field that we have here, I think it may. He's certainly a horse that can win this race. He's an absolute use. But I'm going to look for others in here with a little better value that I think tactically, given the nature of Del Mar as a race course for the turf and being a small track with a short stretch, that's probably going to favor horses a little more forwardly placed. And so I'm going to use New Century, but I'm going to look for a winner elsewhere. Amori City is one that, the first thing you look at, you see Charlie Appleby and William Buick. And incidentally, William Buick is his regular rider. So I'm sorry about the confusion there. This one in the Vincent O'Brien National finished in kind of a non-factor fourth. Prior to that, he's had a couple of decent efforts, but I sort of think this one's peaked, or for the time being. I think this is the best he's going to be. And I just don't think he's as good as the more prominent Euros in here. And at 10-1, I really don't like him. He's certainly going to take money because the Charlie Appleby, Godolphin, William Buick connections. But I just don't think he's stacked up as being one of the better Euros. I mean, I think there's three ahead of him at least. So to me, that makes him an underlay, and I'll look elsewhere for that reason. And now we come to Henri Matisse, and this is a very high-profile horse. Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore, Magnier Tabor, great connections. Wooten Bassett, awesome sire. This one has won 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5 in the money. His last race in the Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère, I think he might have been impeded by the soft turf. In France, it tends to get very soft, and he finished an okay fifth. But prior to that, he had demonstrated a lot more ability on firmer ground. Now, the word is that he does have some issues between the ears, not really certain lately that he necessarily knows what he's supposed to be doing for his last couple of starts. That's what I've heard. But to me, he certainly has plenty of ability. And the 13 hole, while normally that might be prohibitive and being too far outside for me, I think that actually works to his favor because it keeps him out of any potential entanglements. He's going to be all the way to the outside. Nobody's the 14 scratched, so he's all the way to the outside. He should be able to get a decent enough trip and stay out of trouble, which with horses who have issues between the ears, when they get covered up or they're within the pack, that's where the problems start. So staying unencumbered, I think, makes a lot of sense for a horse who definitely has a lot of ability. And at 6-1, he offers to me the best value of the Euros, particularly the more prominent ones in here. So I like Henri Matisse. So we'll just review, looking at the field. We'll see that we're going to use Henri Matisse is going to be my pick to win this. And I think, if you find yourself having to choose between Al Qudra and New Century, I'd give a little bit of preference to Al Qudra, but then I said, well, if I've got Henri Matisse in there, and he may have more upside than either of them, so I'll go with him. We're going to round the field out with Al Qudra and New Century, certainly going to use them liberally, and then we're going to throw in Noble Confessor as one I think has some upside for the Americans, and the Waco Kid, who's one who shows a steady progression, and I've heard some pundits from Europe mention him as a horse. And looking at his running lines and looking the way he runs, I think this is a horse definitely getting better and may surprise for some value. So we'll look at our wagering strategy. We'll take Henri Matisse to win. Then we'll do an exacta key with Henri Matisse with 4 and 11, Al Qudra, New Century. Then we're going to box all three of them. because I think they are the three logical candidates in here. I don't normally like to do that, but I think in this instance, it makes sense to me. And then we're going to box Henri Matisse and the Waco Kid for a little for some value. And if the Waco Kid continues to progress and can get up for second or even win this with Henri Matisse, then we get a nice payday. Trifecta will go 13 on top with 411, 411 as the most logical. You could even box them. I could certainly see it, but I'd rather not do that. I'd rather key it in the try. And then we'll do another try with 13 on top with, we'll throw the Waco Kid in there for second. And then we'll use Noble Confessor, El Qudra, New Century, and the Waco Kid for third. You could certainly flesh that out a little bit with Amori City. I could understand that. Or maybe even, take a flyer on the Japanese horse if you want. But I think this one makes the most sense. There's a lot of ways to go for third in the trifecta. I'm just looking for what I consider to be the best bang for the buck with the best value in Noble Confessor and the Waco Kid. So that's it for the Juvenile Turf. We have concluded the Future Stars Friday card, and I hope this analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. We're on to Saturday's card. We've already got a posting for the Classic that has the race replays as well as the wagering strategy. For the remainder of the races, we will concentrate solely on wagering strategy. So you couple that with the presentations we've already done on the race replays, and hopefully that'll give you a really comprehensive picture of each race. So be on the lookout for more content. And if you do like what you see here, of course, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who've recently come on board. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.